4 people have been arrested and charged by the Calgary Police Service Economic Crimes Unit following an investigation into an odometer rollback fraud. On Friday, April 10th, 2015, police began an investigation into a group of people who were rolling back odometers of high-mileage vehicles, then reselling them with low mileage to unsuspecting buyers. At least 15 victims believed they were purchasing dependable, safe, and paid more for the low mileage vehicles than they thought they were receiving. In reality, the vehicles had been rolled back 50 to 70% more kilometers than advertised and were often in need of major mechanical repair. The group that is believed to have committed these frauds is made up of a common law couple and 2 brothers. The husband in the common law couple is believed to be responsible for the frauds dating back to June of 2013, while the brothers joined in on the frauds in April of 2015. On Thursday, August 6, 2015, a search warrant was executed at a residence in the 100 block of Rocky Ridge Circle Northwest. The following items were seized: odometer rollback devices, diagnostic equipment, bill of sale documents, $10,000 cash, license plates, driver's licenses not belonging to those in the residences, bear spray, a baton, and a Porsche Cayenne. Damien Funk, 25, have been charged with 7 counts of fraud over $5,000 and 9 counts of fraud under $5,000. He will next appear in court in Calgary on Friday, September 4th, 2015. Funk is also charged with 1 count of fraud over $5,000 for the same offense committed in Edmonton. His next court appearance in Edmonton is Friday, September 25th, 2015. His common law wife, Stephanie Dagner, 27, has been charged with 1 count of fraud over $5,000. She will next appear in court Tuesday, September 15th, 2015. Jonathan Yardley, 35, has been charged with 2 counts of fraud over $5,000. He will next appear in court on Friday, September 4th, 2015. Ashley Yardley, 30, brother of Jonathan Yardley, was arrested on 6 outstanding warrants stemming from similar allegations in Edmonton, and he is scheduled to appear in Edmonton court on Friday, September 25th, 2015. The investigation continues and further charges are expected to be laid. Anyone who has information about this case is encouraged to contact police or Crime Stoppers. We would like to thank our partners for the collaboration on this file, including the Edmonton Police Service, Kijiji Canada, AMVIC, and Service Alberta. I'll now take your questions.
So these were not, they weren't reselling stolen vehicles?
No, they were not reselling stolen vehicles. What was happening is they were searching Kijiji for vehicles that were high mileage vehicles that were a low cost, maybe a $3,000 vehicle with high miles. They would go out and purchase those vehicles, bring them back, clean them up, do an interior clean, exterior clean, maybe even clean the engine a little bit, and then do the odometer rollback. Once the odometer rollback was done, anywhere between 50 to 70% rolled back on the odometer, they would then sell the vehicle at a higher price. So a $3,000 or a $3,500 vehicle may have been sold for $6,500, again on Kijiji. Interesting facts here is the offender, Funk, seemed to be the one that was coordinating most of this, and everybody had a specific role. I'll also say that this kind of transpired into deeper and more insulation for the group and a little bit more sophistication as they were going on. They started out by doing face-to-face meetings. Individuals who were buying vehicles were invited to the original home of Funk. And then from there, they started meeting in a parking lot close by, and finally somebody else was sent to do the test drive with the unsuspecting victim.
How did you guys come to learn about this case?
There were several case files that came through complainants and victims to our frontline members, who then engaged with us in the economic crime unit, and we saw that there was a larger trend than just a few victims.
How would the victims come to know that what they bought was this high mileage vehicle if it was being sold as this gold mine.
Yeah, so we have one case specifically where the victims purchased a $5,800 vehicle off of Kijiji from Funk. The vehicle, again, was purported to be in very good condition and safe. As soon as they went to register the vehicle, there's a flag that comes up in Service Alberta. The vehicle was actually salvage status, so it was involved in an accident and written off by an insurance company. So when they went to register it, Service Alberta sent out a letter saying you need to go get a mechanical inspection. They went to get the mechanical inspection to register it, and on several points in that mechanical inspection, the vehicle failed. It's completely unroadworthy, and there are over $4,000 in repairs that are needed in order to actually drive that vehicle. Those unsuspecting victims are now not only out the $5,800 that they originally bought the vehicle for, but they're also don't have a vehicle. They can't afford to get that vehicle fixed to make it roadworthy, and they're without transportation.
That sort of opens up a bit of a wider spectrum for public knowledge. Is this something that happens a lot? Like, do people resell vehicles that shouldn't be on the road in the first place?
I can say from my time in economic crime that this is definitely something that we're seeing more and more of. This is the third type of case that we've investigated that's organized in nature, that there is rollbacks happening where unsuspecting victims are buying them. Really important to protect yourself, clearly, right? When you're buying off of Kijiji, don't fall for high pressure tactics. This group used high pressure tactics. The offender would bring his children to the sale of the car as well to bring heat off of him or make him look like a normal salesman. And it would be really hard at that time to determine whether or not it was legitimate. These vehicles will have more wear and tear in them. You need to really do a look through the interior and exterior of the vehicle. A mechanical inspection, while it only costs you probably a couple $100, would be something that's going to save you down the road. You can also do things like lien checks. One of the vehicles sold in this situation had a lien against it. And you can do checks through Carfax and CarProof, which keep regular mileage based on different services that are done. So for instance, if you go to a certain service station for oil change, they record your mileage. You can see the history of the mileage on vehicles, and if they're bought and sold through a dealership, that is also recorded on Carfax and CarProof.
Just sort of going through the timeline of things they have over there. I mean, obviously the soldering gun and the old odometer there, but what about these other pieces of technology? Are they commercially available anywhere?
Right, so there's two different sort of scams that were happening here. The first, or two different ways they were perpetrating the rollback, I should say, not scams, but, well, scams, yes. The first is what you see is that dash there, and I can go through it after, but essentially they take the circuit board completely out of that to manipulate the digital odometer, and that's what the soldering gun is for. A lot more work involved with that. The newer instruments that are more electronic, you can purchase on the internet. They hook up right into the vehicle's electronic circuit, and then you can roll back using that tool. Important to note that it's actually not an offense to roll back an odometer. What the offense is if you sell a vehicle where the odometer is not correct on it knowingly, and you're misrepresenting the number of kilometers on that vehicle, that is where the offense comes in.
You mentioned earlier on in your lead-in that there were some other identities that were found, cars that were found at the house. Does that mean maybe there were more victims that were unsuspecting that were even part of this?
Victims for sure of identity, stolen identity or stolen identification, not stolen identity. What we found throughout the investigation is that this group, on the papers that they were using, the bills of sale, were using fake identifications or fake identities, and also stolen identifications as a proof of, you know, who they were in order to make the paperwork.
Would you assume or presume that there might be more unsuspecting people didn't purchase these.
Yeah, you know what? From what the investigation has revealed to date, we've charged or able to get solid evidence on 15 cases. More charges will be pending. However, throughout the investigation, it looks conservatively, and again, through working with Kijiji Canada, over 100 ads were placed in relation to what this group was doing. So we are suspecting that there are more victims out there. If you believe that you were a victim of this specific scam, please call the Calgary Police Service, and our investigators will be contacting you as a result of that to investigate your file.
How will those charges sort of span out? Will those who were used when filed in the paperwork would say one specific set, whomever took the identities in the first place would face a second set of charges?
Yeah, so the theft of the actual IDs or identification is something that is going to be extremely difficult to prove. That is something that we are still investigating. And then for each perpetrated fraud, where they're misrepresenting the odometers and selling that vehicle, there's individual charges there as well. I didn't talk about the Edmonton Connection, and this is kind of interesting as well. We believe all of these offenders are actually from the Edmonton area. Funk moved here several years ago, and the Yardley brothers actually moved in April of this year. The charges out of Edmonton stem from a case where this group purchased a vehicle, did the rollback, and then sold a vehicle. One such case where the vehicle was sold in Calgary, the victim was only given one key to the vehicle. Later, the vehicle was stolen off of the driveway and then resold in Edmonton to a second unsuspecting victim with one key again. One of those frauds were perpetrated in Edmonton, and one of them actually happened here where the double sale happened in Calgary as well.
So is one of the charges we can possibly expect Grand Theft Auto?
We don't have a charge like that.
that.
Yeah, so again, with theft, it would be theft over $5,000. And in order to prove the actual theft of the vehicle, it's very difficult. We don't have the evidence for that right now. We are still investigating that portion, though.
You said it was a very sophisticated operation as they were doing the rollbacks, but something like that, you steal your own your own fraudulent vehicle. It seems like these guys were sort of outrunning the coverage. Maybe they were getting too big and thought they weren't going to get caught.
I think initially this group, it was a little bit of trial and error. I do believe they've gotten more sophisticated in the way that they've perpetrated this along the way, but I think, again, yes, it is a bit about trial and error. They found another way to make even more money, and really this type of crime is driven by greed, and they doubled their money by doing that double sale. So that's, just trying something new.
One of the suspects, one of the Yardley, did he also live on the Rocky Ridge Circle?
At the time of the warrant, the location of the warrant and right across the street were the two houses where the offenders were living.
So yes.
Yes.
So they were neighbors, but the search warrant was executed at this particular house.
That's right.
Did they do all the work out of the garages at the residences, or did they have a shop somewhere?
Yeah, no, it was all residential based out of the main offender's house.
Christine, you want to mention that stat?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Lindsay. An interesting stat that was brought forward, and another way to just try to be wary as you're buying a vehicle, is that the average Canadian drives approximately 20,000 kilometers in a year. So if you multiply 20,000 times the age of your car, that should give you a rough estimate. If the kilometers are coming in lower than that, definitely do your due diligence and do your checks through Carfax and CarProof and a mechanical inspection, etc. This case for us was a priority and was extremely concerning because of the risk to the public. Again, I want to stress these vehicles were salvage vehicles for most part, or needed significant mechanical work done to a lot of these vehicles. And unsuspected victims have bought them and are driving them like they are newer vehicles.
Any other questions? Can you give an example of one of the higher end mileage vehicles, like how many kilometers?
Yeah, you bet. Original kilometers on the vehicle. Sorry, I have a lot of notes here. I don't have the actual kilometers, but what I can tell you is they rolled them back 51 to 73%. That's all I can tell you, and that they would charge $2,000 to $3,000 more per vehicle.
What kind of vehicles?
We had a wide range of vehicles, things like Cadillac Escalades, Ford Escapes, Jeep Cherokees, but also Civics, Malibus, Maximas, any types of Nissans, cars, trucks. There is really no boundaries as to what they were rolling back, what they were purchasing, and what they were misrepresenting. The Porsche Cayenne is another one, and that's the one we seized off of the driveway. Again, trial and error. What we suspect with that is that they bought a Porsche Cayenne, did the rollback on it, $60,000 vehicle, tried to sell it, but a little bit more checks were done into that and had a difficult time selling that vehicle. So they actually kept it for a family vehicle.